The other day, I was scrolling through my phone and an ad came across my screen about the Division Resurgence, which is obviously a blatant cash grab using that god awful Chinese beauty filter on all the characters, generic anime style 2D animated trailers, and scaled down assets used from the first Division game that came out in like 2016. We all know that Ubisoft has been digging its own grave lately. Assassin's Creed Shadows has been a disaster. Skull and Bones, which was promising features from Assassin's Creed Black Flag, the melee combat, the ability to board enemy vessels, something other than just naval combat, has been on permanent hold. And they are now under this complete restructuring with this new Creative Houses structure, which, of course, is going to have even more layoffs. And even more so, has already been criticized with nepotism, as one of the Creative House managers is the son of the Ubisoft CEO. And these new Creative Houses, to me, look like a clever little trick they're trying to pull. But first, we need to, in layman's terms, look at what these Creative Houses are. And to be fair, I don't really know the specific details on how these are structured. So this is my interpretation and mostly speculation. But to start, let's look at just the basic structure of what's going on. Ubisoft is currently restructuring their company to work around what they call Creative Houses, which are going to be smaller studios focused on specific intellectual properties. Currently, as of the recording of this video, there are 5 creative houses and the Creative Network. One of these creative houses is named, and the rest are placeholders like Creative House 2, 3, and so on until Creative House 5. The Creative Network seems like management, the corporate office that is used to keep the creative houses connected and hitting deadlines and so on. So Creative Network isn't what we're focusing on. What I am focusing on is Creative House 1 through 5. Creative House 1 is named Vantage Studios, in charge of Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. Then there's Creative House 2, in charge of Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell, and The Division. 3 is in charge of Brawlhalla, For Honor, Riders Republic, Skull and Bones, and The Crew. 4 is in charge of Anno, Beyond Good and Evil, Heroes of Might and Magic, Prince of Persia, and Rayman. And lastly, 5 is in charge of all the mobile games. But it's not how these games are split up that I want to focus on, it's this. The name, Vantage Studios. You see, I have a theory, and to sum it up, it's this. I believe that Ubisoft is trying to hide their logo, their tainted reputation, behind these 5 new brands and identities, which will promptly have their own names and logos. Now, obviously, this isn't a secret. They said themselves they are restructuring into Ubisoft being a publisher and these studios being restructured into subsidiaries, but that doesn't mean that this isn't a sneaky rebranding attempt, in a way. Think about it. What better way to get your company to have a more positive image to the consumer than to sell your product under a new face? We most likely aren't going to get anything different from what we have been getting all along, but Ubisoft seems to be banking on the fact that most people don't really look at the latest news in gaming or look at the publishers' names. These aren't going to be under new management. It's the same studios and the same people making the same stupid decisions, like the Division Resurgence. Let's look at some history on the Division's IP development history. Again, it's a summary, but the Division came out in 2016. It did pretty well. It was set in New York in a kind of post-apocalyptic grounded environment, deadly factions of bandits roaming the streets, and the JTF and Division working together to maintain order, and investigating the outbreak of a deadly virus that damaged the foundations of the country. It was fun, there were cool gadgets, the story was competent, and all around a good game. Division 2 came out in 2019, set in Washington, D.C., continuing the story and adding to the game's functions and generally improving off of the first game. Now, this isn't a debate on which one is better, so I'm staying out of that. Later on, we got the Division 2 Warlords of New York DLC, which brought us back to New York just without snow. Both of these games did well, plenty of people liked them. And then we got the Division Heartlands announced, bringing a new environment of the American Midwest. Instead of being set in a major city, it took place in a rural small town called Silver Creek. It brought the possibility of new stories, new experiences. It was picking up steam. People were getting interested in such a change of pace. The crowds cheered when they announced it was going to be free to play. It was kissing babies. It fucked the prom queen in the principal's car. People were getting excited. Birth rates soared. American patriotism was higher than ever. France surrendered again. Erectile dysfunction statistics flatlined. Racial tensions non-existent. Dogs and cats living in harmony. The Jewish people apologized for what they did to Jesus. Peace in the Middle East. Nerds were getting laid. Linkin Park. Cowboy hats. And then Ubisoft put it down like a rabid animal. But why? AI Overview says to cut costs and redirect resources on higher priority projects. Like fucking X-Defiant and Rainbow Six. They needed a whole development team to make their operator in a wheelchair. They needed a whole team to add Solid Snake. And to waste money on X-Defiant, which, mind you, fucking failed. And now that X-Defiant is shut down, and a lot of people lost their jobs, and of course all these people that lost their jobs were on the development team, not management, not the suits telling them what to do, but the grunt workers. Ubisoft is doing this? Division Resurgence? A free-to-play mobile game scaled down old assets and just hoping on nostalgia bait to get people to put money in microtransactions for a fucking mobile game for the Division? When you people complain about no new games, this is what happens, and not one of you would acknowledge it. Not one of you would open your eyes and complain about this. Instead, you're going to open your wallets for a cool skin for your AK in a fucking mobile game for the Division. Not ask for Heartlands to come back. Not for this new content. We want the old shitty Chinese beauty filter on all the characters, reskinning of the Division. The fuck are you doing, Ubisoft? You have a game well into production phase that you shelved, and better yet, it's not a mobile game cash grab. And even when we are looking at this older footage of Division Heartland, there is plenty of new things that we could have been getting. And I know I've already talked about the new environment. The American Midwest would be a great callback to Far Cry 5, which is a game I like. I like Far Cry 5. I like this Midwest mountainous environment. It's a beautiful environment for a game. What I don't like is we're just going to reskin and rebrand an old game when we could be getting melee combat, sliding mechanics, who knows what other things they were planning on adding to Division Heartland that they didn't tell us about. The entire point of a sequel is to build off of what was done in the first game and add new things. Let's look at the first Last of Us and Last of Us Part 2. Two things that they added to the gameplay is the ability to lay down and crawl and the ability to dodge attacks, which greatly improved the gameplay. Ubisoft needs to look at what did we do in this first game? What did we do in Division 1 and Division 2? What did we add in Division Warlords of New York? And they need to build off it. They can't keep giving us the same thing. They can't keep giving the excuse of, well, we can't figure it out, so we give up. Here's what we did a few years ago that we do know how to do because we didn't fire the staff that knew how to do this. Thanks for watching. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get the American flag branded onto my chest.